Trajen Odom and Brody Lennon are the latest players to join Ohio State's loaded 2025 recruiting class.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a feel-good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Friday, June 28th in the year 2024, I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. If you can't tell by just the tone in my voice right now, and of course, it's a feel-good Friday. We all want to feel good on a Friday. Well, that's exactly what happens when the Buckeyes recruiting keeps rolling like it is, keeps building momentum, and keeps building momentum to hit other parts that have been a little stale or stagnant as far as their commitments coming in of late. The Buckeyes got a commitment from the first defensive tackle in this current recruiting class that comes from four-star defensive tackle Trajen Odom, and he is one of those guys that Larry Johnson has been trying to get. Made a visit to the high school in January, gave him an offer. He took a trip to Ohio State in March, came in for the official visit, and this young man, he is what you want at Ohio State. He possesses exactly what Larry Johnson wants in a defensive tackle. 6'4", 285 pounds, from Matthews, North Carolina, out of Weddington High School. He is someone that when I look at him and watch him play, it's like, hey, buddy, come on to Columbus. Get in there, get in that weight room, be in there, continue being a run stopper, come on over, bring your buddies with you as well. This is a kind of guy you want on the interior of your defensive line. And as Larry Johnson is still coaching, as people have, there's rumors out there, oh, he'll stop coaching here and he's going to retire now. No, Larry Johnson is out here recruiting like he is going to be coaching for the next 5, 6, 7 years. That's what you want out of a coach. If you saw Larry Johnson all of a sudden saying, well, I'm recruiting, but I'm also thinking about that trip to Cancun multiple times a year, you're saying, wait, multiple times a year? Sir, you're still coaching at Ohio State. You have recruiting trips to take. You have players to help prepare for bowl games and help prepare for multiple playoff games prior to the trip to the Natty. You have a lot of things to do here that are a part of your current job description. How are you preparing for multiple trips to Cancun when, well, you can't? It's going to be hard to fit that thing in your schedule. Well, if that were on his mind, I don't believe that recruiting Odom would have gone the way that it did. I don't think he would have made the trips and put in the time, energy, and effort to get Odom to Ohio State like he has. And now for Odom, you can't be anything but excited and happy about what Ohio State has right now in the recruiting class. He was the 21st player to commit in this current cycle. And he even talked about what it meant when Larry Johnson and Ryan Day, and that they made him a priority. And that was something that they said during his first visit to Ohio State. Think about how you are when you're a highly sought after player in high school and you're going around, you're going to be courted by certain schools. You're going to be visiting numerous schools. Numerous people are going to be trying to get your services. And then all of a sudden, the first time you meet the head coach and the guy who's going to be coaching your position, they both say, hey, you're a priority. I mean, if you talk about a way to make somebody's ego blow up and someone's head to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, that's going to do it. That is a thing that'll make your ego get bigger, make your brain maybe swell a little bit. Why? Because it makes you feel good. You want to be wanted. You want to be somebody's priority, especially when you are someone that's the prospect and recruit of the caliber of Odom. Now, with him only being the first player to commit in the cycle in this recruiting class, there are going to be other players Ohio State is going to go after. Now, currently, the Buckeyes have Odom, but they're still trying to pursue Auburn commit Malik Autry, then also Maxwell Roy. They already have 3 other defensive linemen committed. Those are all players that are defensive ends, and Zion Grady and Zahir Mathis and London Merritt. All 3 guys that have elite skills of their own, just like Trajen Odom does with the run-stopping ability that he possesses and that he'll bring to Columbus. But also there's another guy that really, when Brian and I have done these shows, we haven't really touched on him lately because it's been primarily athletes that are currently a part of the 2025 recruiting class. But Jakeem Stewart is a defensive tackle who is currently in the class of 2026, which is what he's supposed to be in. Plays down there in the Bayou. Brian and I touched on him about a month ago, maybe month and a half ago, prior to the official visit season getting underway. He's 6'6", about 270. He is currently the number 2 player in the 2026 class of 2026, just to tell you how good he is right now, heading into his junior year. But there is a belief, and it's been talked about quite a bit, that Jakeem Stewart could actually reclassify to the class of 2025. And if that happens, you're going to get Ohio State pursuing not only Malik Autry, not only Maxwell Roy, but also you're going to make Jakeem Stewart a priority target. And if they don't, that'd be silly. Wouldn't make any sense. And we would be on this show questioning, why are you not making that thing happen? You have to. Now, it will be hard to bring him up from the Bayou, but it can happen. Now, when I think about guys reclassifying, it's something that has been a part of not so much this show consistently. Quinn Ewers reclassified at the very last minute, joined Ohio State about a month before he decided to publicly declare to join the whatever recruiting class it was. He jumped from his senior year to his junior year, skipped the senior year of high school at the last minute. Somebody jumped in the comments on the YouTube and said, hey, we'll be fine. The guy behind him is good. It's like a factory. I'm like, cool. I still don't agree with guys reclassifying. As much as it'll help Ohio State in the immediate future or now in this current recruiting class cycle, I still would never, ever, 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 ever in my life advise somebody to reclassify. My dad and I talk about this all the time. There was a guy, Paul Scruggs, played at Southport High School. Many of you remember Joey Brunk played basketball at Ohio State for 1 year, transferred in for his final year of eligibility. Well, Joey Brunk and Paul Scruggs were high school basketball teammates at Southport. Made it to semi-state 1 year. Really got blown out by Romeo Langford, who was one of the best basketball players in high school I've ever seen in my lifetime. I've seen better, but he's still one of them. But I remember Paul Scruggs, his senior year, well, the summer leading up to his senior year, it was announced that he'd be going off to a prep school. And my dad and I had conversations about this all the time, saying, why would you do that? He didn't reclassify. He went to a prep school. I'm thinking, why would you leave your boys, your school, go off to a prep school, and then come right back to the Midwest? The prep school was out there in California. When it came to Quinn Ewers, when it came to even Sonny Styles, it helped Ohio State. I still would have said, young man, stay in high school. It's so risky. It's kind of like a guy being a one and done in college basketball or someone coming straight out of high school to the NBA. It's almost, you're playing with fire, and it's almost one of those things where it's like, is it truly worth it? Is it a need? Probably not. Probably not. So don't do it. I would never really advise anyone to come out of high school to go to the NBA or rarely be a one and done. And when it comes to reclassifying, I say the same thing. Spend your time in high school, because that jump from even the high level IMG Academy in high school to Ohio State, that's a steep jump, y'all. A lot of guys that think they're ready for it, they get on campus and they're not. Jakeem Stewart, yes, it would be fun to have him in the class of 2025, but just like Paul Scruggs leaving his high school to go to prep school, or Quinn Ewers and others leaving and reclassifying to jump up a grade, skip a grade to go to college early, no, I wouldn't advise it. Now, it would be enjoyable to have him at Ohio State in this recruiting class, but remember, he'd be a year younger than he would supposed to be at Ohio State if he joined at that time. So keep that in mind as well. The age factor is real, because an 18-year-old is a more mature human being than a 17-year-old. Just keep that in mind. Mentally, physically, and all the things involved. Not only was Odom a player that joined the loaded Ohio State recruiting class in 2025, but Brody Lennon is as well. and he's another in-state prospect that's going to be a Buckeye in the future. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more, and the best service in Central Ohio. And guys, check this out. Billiards Plus carries grills that have up to 30-year warranties. That's right, a grill with a 30-year warranty. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ahaston, Canada, billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has the perfect setup for all grillers. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus, visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Ohio State's 2025 recruiting class, it's in the title of this show. I've said it multiple times earlier. It's loaded. And I don't say that loosely or lightly and not realizing the weight that is coming with that word. It's loaded. Currently, right now, the Buckeyes have the number one overall recruiting class in the class of 2025, and that they've had that title for a while. I don't know how many days in a row they have had that title, but top five recruiting classes: Oklahoma's 5, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 3, Bama 2, Ohio State number 1. Look for Oregon to be in and out of that top 5 as well throughout this cycle. And another player that joined Ohio State's class of 2025 on the recruiting side of things is Brody Lennon. He is an in-state prospect. He is one of those guys from Gates Mill, Ohio, and Gates Mill High School, sitting at 6'4", 220 pounds. He is one that when I saw his commitment come in, and I even heard earlier this week, I was listening to the podcast, and Byrne was on there, and he maybe was at the end of a show, because I think they were doing a show about EA Sports. We're going to do more coverage about that coming up next week. They were doing a show about EA Sports, one of the rankings that they did, and then Byrne said, hey, look out for something coming up later this week. Can't say what it is, but just look out for it. He had talked to Brody Lennon and talked about him committing to Ohio State. I'm thinking, a second tight end. Now, at the time when Byrne was talking about this, I didn't know it was Brody Lennon. But I'm thinking, okay, like I can get down with Ohio State going with two tight ends in a recruiting class. Because when you think about what Ohio State currently has, you have a guy in Will Kazmarek who's going to be gone. You have a guy in G. Scott Jr. who's going to be gone. You have a guy in Patrick Gerd who might be playing more of the Mitch Rossi role, or even if he's a regular tight end, he's gone either way. So you have three guys in that tight end room that are gone. I went back and looked at a lot of the guys that have transferred at the tight end position. Sam Hart is gone. And there's I think 2 or 3 total tight ends have left Ohio State in the offseason. So you have in a room that you thought was going to be, at least numerically, a lot bigger than it currently is. It's not that big right now. You need a guy like Brody Lennon in the class. Now, they also have The other tight end that's in this class as well is Nate Roberts. Both have a level of versatility that will be utilized in a great way as Chip Kelly leads the Buckeyes offense. The thought was Brock Schott from Leo High School in Northeast Indiana. He would be someone that the Buckeyes would be trying to get in this class as well. Didn't work out for him. No, I've seen Brock Schott play. I thought he might be a better linebacker in college, at least off the one game that I saw him play last year, than he would be playing tight end. I know he's been recruited as a tight end. I've watched his film. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think you would have to beef up a little bit more than what you'd want him to. Brody Lennon, even at 6'4", 220, he's going to have to beef up too. But the belief is, hey, he's a project, which I love Ohio State bringing in guys and being very open in the recruiting process, saying, look, I know there's 3 guys leaving the room. I know you got Jelani Thurman, and I know there are other players with Demarion Witten. I know there's other players that are younger that are going to be ahead of you. But look, there's going to be room for you that if you come in here, grind, get your mind right, stick to the nutritional program, stick to the strength and conditioning program, and do everything we ask you to do and quickly adapt to changes that are right in front of you. We know things are going to be, hey, there's an opportunity for you to be on the field. But if not, it's going to be okay. And I think those kind of conversations need to happen a little bit more, because there are guys all over the country that are trying to dictate things that happen at a school they're not even at because they want to play there in the future. What kind of world are we living in where a 17-year-old kid is going to try to dictate something to a coach? He ain't even coaching. It's not even coaching him right now. Excuse me? Does any of this make any sense? Because it don't make no sense to me. None whatsoever. But that's the world we live in college football. So for Brody Lennon to come in realizing, hey, I might not play right away. I might be a guy that sits there and I'm maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years before I get on the field consistently, redshirt 1 year, get on the field a little bit more that second year, then that third year, hey, everything pops. You're a redshirt sophomore getting a lot of playing time. Why? Because you stuck to the process. We hear all the time, trust the process from Joel Embiid and whatever process he's trying to tell us to trust. Well, I don't believe the results that they've had out there in Philadelphia are the results that he's been looking for when he's saying trust the process. I know it's a good catchphrase, and if you want to put it on a t-shirt or a hat or a hoodie or on some piece of clothing, shorts, jeans, don't matter. People put words on all kinds of things in a tattoo as well. Cool. Great. That's fine. That's cool. Trust the process. That process, not really sure. I know there's a process at Ohio State that actually works. Unlike what we have seen of late from numerous teams around the association, a lot of processes don't work. We do know Ohio State's tight end process. It works very well. We saw it in Cade Stover. Jeremy Ruckert, even though he did not live up to the expectations that a lot of people had, he still was a solid tight end. Where no one's going to ask Brody Lennon to be better than Cade Stover and to break all of these tight end records for receptions and receiving yards and touchdowns. No one's asking him to do that. All they're saying is, come in to play football. You're going to have a 2 tight end set. I sure hope Chip Kelly keeps that 12 personnel in his bag, or 22. Hey, if you come out here in 22 personnel, my wife might be all up here like, bro, what's going on? And she might call me bro every now and then. It's cool. It's what we do. What's going on? Why are you so hyped? Because this is what should have been happening for a very long time based off what Ohio State can do with the players they have on the field. 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. I know it ain't sexy, but y'all, that bad boy gets the job done. You know what Oregon did? They got the job done. They got a commitment from Ohio State's top remaining running back target. We'll talk about it next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Once again, make sure you take a trip to FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. This show I know came out a little bit later in the day than expected, and when I sat down to put the show together, I didn't expect this show to be full of recruiting news. And also shout out to LinkedIn, Locked On's recruiting sponsor, for allowing this show to happen. Because I was sitting down right in my notebook, and I knew we had Odom, I knew we had Lennon, and the first bullet point I put down on my notebook was team power rankings based off EA Sports, their power rankings coming out, and basically ranking the top rated teams in the new video game coming out. And then I'm searching, reading, and I come across, bam, Jordon Davison. It's not going to Ohio State. That wasn't what I read, but that's what my brain computed because, well, it said that he is playing football in the Pacific. He will play football, in the Pacific Northwest on the same side of the country that he currently lives in. He is going to be playing at Oregon. And I know as soon as I say that Jordon Davison committed to Oregon, not Ohio State, some people are throwing up their hands and saying, oh no, things are not okay. The sky is falling. Now, some of y'all probably aren't going to be that dramatic. I hope not, but there may be somebody out there. One, the sky's not falling, literally or figuratively. Neither one is not happening right now at all. But also, the Buckeyes are fine. I know he was the top remaining running back target, and even could have been the top target on the board. He was the top target on the board, top remaining after Bo Jackson and Isaiah West committed. We say it all the time. Brian Smith has said it a couple times on the show. It would be very, 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 very hard for Ohio State to sign 3 running backs in any recruiting class, but especially this one, because when y'all go watch the film of Bo Jackson, or maybe some of y'all will watch him play this year, if you watch the film of Isaiah West, or maybe some of y'all will watch him play this year, you'll sit here and say, I can get down with that. I can get down with those 2 running backs being the only running backs in the recruiting class and Ohio State not pursuing a third. I can get down with that. Now, I have seen reports that coaches are telling that someone's been told that there's going to be only 2 running backs in the class. I've also seen reports that, well, Ohio State is still pursuing a third. No matter no matter what's actually happening, because what do we find? We have 2 reports that one is saying one thing, one is saying another, and if you believe one, you don't believe the other, and you're saying, oh, these 2 things contradict themselves. Great. Welcome to the world of sports where the reports that come out that don't line up coming from about one team. It doesn't make sense, no, but that's what happens in this world we live in sports. Bo Jackson and Isaiah West are 2 running backs right now that I trust right now in high school. Don't know even what Jordon Davison would be when he comes to college to play football, but I would personally be comfortable and perfectly fine with Jackson and West being the only running backs in a recruiting class. Think about what you have right now. Now, if you say, Jay, they need a third, okay, I can get down with that because of this. Henderson at the end of this season, gone automatically, no more eligibility left. Quinshon Judkins has the opportunity to stay at Ohio State one more year, but if he plays like I think he will, he's gone. So your top 2 backs are gone. What does that leave in your current room? You have James Peoples, Sam Williams-Dixon, and TC Coffey, who is a walk-on. The last one's a walk-on. And those would be the 3 guys in the room that would be there next year. So what does that have? Inexperience from all 3 of them. Among those 3 names I just mentioned, they have a total of combined 10 carries, 66 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Only played 2 games in college. That was TC Coffey a couple years ago. He got hurt in that season. And also, I believe he got hurt. I think he missed most, if not all, of last year. So you have a very inexperienced room at the end of this year. So yes, I can understand the thought of going out there to get a third running back to fill the void. If that third running back is a freshman, what else do you have? Inexperience. So you're saying, well, Jay, the numbers would make sense for them to go get 3. But if there's inexperience, does that third running back need to be a incoming freshman or be somebody from the portal? Now, where Ohio State currently is right now with the current state of the running back room, yes, going up there and getting Jordon Davison and getting 3 guys in a recruiting class, that would be great. but you would still want to get a transfer. So then the report that they're only going to stick with 2, that's probably where I lean, because that's probably only going to be the most realistic option. But if they want 3 running backs joining the team in 2025, maybe that 3rd running back will be a future transfer who will be in the portal at that time at the end of the regular season in 2024. And they say, oh, so we got 2 guys signing. We're going to get somebody else to sign, but he has a little bit more experience in college football. It's not a cycle you want if you're Ryan Day or Chip Kelly or Carlos Loughlin. However, if that's actually what happens, I prefer that than going into 2025 with Williams, Dixon, Coffey, Peoples, Jackson, and West. It's a lot of inexperience right there with those names I just mentioned. If you give me one guy that has some experience, it would help this team out a whole lot. Now, if the Buckeyes are trying to go out there and get somebody else in high school via the recruiting, the couple players that are other targets right now, one of them is Alabama committing Anthony Rogers, who recently visited Ohio State earlier this month, and then Shakai Mills-Knight. He's also on the Buckeyes' radar. Cool. I would not say good. I wouldn't say to stop pursuing them, because what do we know about recruiting? Crazy and wild things happen. And I understand right now we're recruiting in the momentum's building. Things are on a high, all of this stuff. If Judkins and Henderson play in a way that many people like us believe they will in the fall, that might actually open the door and say, hey, 3 running backs. I know that guys are going to play split carries. The yards may not be inflated. Our bodies will be saved for the future level of football, the higher level of football. For many of us, that's what we want is the NFL, which I believe that is what they want. Oh, okay, 3 running backs is cool based off what's happening this year. However, I would still probably prefer a transfer running back in the 2025 cycle than a running back coming in as another inexperienced guy. I know. Getting Davison would have been great, but that didn't happen. However, what is great is that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. You can follow me on X at jstevens07, send every single email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Feel Good Friday. We'll see you next time.